Hello, this is Dread from Epic Builds. And in today's video topic, we're actually going to be doing the leveling guide for Rogue. So I just spent the last few hours leveling a few characters, specifically Rogue, and on stream, I leveled this to level 39 here. I leveled this in solo, pretty much just with garbage gear, and I'm just going to show you what I did. Now, if you want to see the full leveling guide, like the full leveling experience, I will be uploading an unlisted version of the VOD of the stream that I was doing, and I'll leave a link in the description so that if you want to see the full amount and just skim through and see what I do, you can do that. But if you want the summarized, quick 10-minute version with the planner, this is the part for you. So you guys get to have both, the best of both worlds. So we are going to just go over the general mechanics. So for the build, like the skill rotation, we just simply puncture, then throw our Umbral blades. Like that's pretty much it. We throw down our smoke bomb to do just a little bit more damage, and as you can tell, we actually do a decent amount of damage for being level 39. A 40k DPS, that's like half the DPS of some builds in endgame. So very strong. So let's just talk about the skills real quick. So for Umbral Blades here, we took 2 point travel into cut and leave, then 1 point into Emerald Cutlass. This is very strong as it converts all of your bleed chance to poison, so that not only is all your bleed stuff from, like, if you wield a sword, like for instance, Blade Dancer here, Blood Serpent's Blades, if you have a sword instead of a dagger like I do. You can also grab Disembowel as well, which will take your third attack and apply 5 bleeds on hit. Those will be turned into poison instead, and that's very strong early on because you don't have that much chance early on because you're just slamming Umbral Blades all the time anyways. Then 1 point travel into Dawnfall, 1 point travel into Precision Cuts, and then 1 point into Explosive Blades. Once you get Explosive Blades and Emerald Cutlass, you can transition from Flurry, which I'll be leaving a planner in the description of what to play until you get to Umbral Blades, and then you swap to Umbral Blades once you're able to run Explosive Blades and Emerald Cutlass at the same time. Then what you're going to do is you're going to take 1 point travel into Jagged Carving, so don't care about the physical, then 1 point to Twilight Assault. The reason why we like Twilight Assault is not only does it make our third attack do a bunch more blades, right? It does a bunch of blades. It also gives us another stack of flow. So Rhythm here, generating a stack of flow increases your melee and throwing attack speed for a short duration. This buff can stack. So for instance, we're at 50, where is it? 30% throwing attack speed, 1, 2, 3, 4, but we didn't gain one there because flow is capped at 3 because we do 3 different attacks with Umbral Blades. But thankfully, puncture counts as a different attack, so 1, 2, 3, bam, 1, 2, 3, bam, 1, 2, 3, bam. And as you can tell, it increases our attack speed significantly. So it is a very strong node for us. Very, very important. Then, of course, we fill out Dawnfall, so we get a bunch of Dust Shrouds. Dust Shrouds give a bunch of flat dodge and glancing blow when used. It helps us pretty much give us a little bit more tankiness on bosses, as you can tell. Just a little bit of free dodge here. And then, of course, it gives us more damage when combined with Edge of Obscurity. And then, of course, just the more damage with the Dust Shrouds is insane. And then, of course, when we throw down our smoke bomb, we get a bunch more, and the effect is double. I misclicked. I was not supposed to grab Umbral Remnant. You grab Umbral Remnant much later when you start popping shadows with your smoke bomb, but like mainly you want to fill out Edge of Obscurity for the damage. Now, for puncture here, you end up getting this second after Flurry. So we take 2 points travel to Perforate, 4 points into Bloodthirst so that we get 60% per stack, and we stack up to 3 times at the beginning. It's global bleed chance and applies to everything. Then 3 extra points into Hunger, so we have 6 maximum stacks. So as you can tell here, as I use my puncture here, we gain a bunch of global bleed chances above my head, all the way up to 390. And all of that global bleed chance is converted into poison. And the reason why that's so strong is because the more poison we have on the enemy, the more shred they will do and the more damage we will do, especially early on, because most of the stuff you're killing are going to be normal and rare monsters, which get more effective shred than, of course, bosses do. And this build shreds bosses anyways, right? And it makes clear feel fantastic because of that. Just having all of that extra bleed chance, because, like I said, it gets converted into poison. And then, of course, we take 2 points into press the attack for the frenzy. Frenzy applies a global 20% attack speed buff, which will apply to our throwing attack speed and our melee attack speed. So both of our abilities get affected because puncture is a melee attack and Umbral Blades is a throwing attack. And then, of course, 1 point into cadence of death travel. Then eventually 3 points to mutilate. This makes it so that when we apply bleeds with puncture here, we gain a bunch of HP back. As you can tell, we go 4, 9, bam, 4, 9, and that gives us 40 HP right now when we pop it. But then later on, it can give way more HP when we have more bleed chance and more, of course, HP as well, more points into this. So this is a lot of our sustain, because we are not playing Flurry and we don't have health on melee hit because we're throwing instead. So the only source of sustain that we have is from sapping strike. So having a little bit more sustain from puncture is very nice. Then, of course, shift. It's your stereotypical shift setup. I don't really have to explain this. You pick this after Flurry. And then, of course, Smoke Bomb. Now, one thing you could do is, instead of speccing into shift, you could spec into Smoke Bomb faster, and you could get access to Edge of Obscurity faster and deal more damage to bosses faster. But I found the movement speed of shift to be very nice. And the healing from shift as well is a large majority of our sustain early on, as we're just shifting through packs and stuff. So, and then for Smoke Bomb, we have 1 point to Shroud in Darkness, so we gain Dust Shrouds, then 4 point into Rapid Concealment for Dust Shroud frequency, then 5 points in duration, so it lasts as long as possible. So as you can tell here, we are gaining a bunch of Glancing Blow and a bunch of dodge, and when we're attacking also as well with like our with our Umbral Blades as well, we actually get a decent chunk of dodge and Glancing Blow, which helps us face tank bosses with ease. And that's pretty much it for the leveling setup. Once you reach this point, you could probably either go into Poison Umbral Blades completely, or you could play any other rogue build. I leveled this as a marksman just to prove to you that you can use this to level your bow builds as well. You can use this to level any rogue. And when Falconer comes out, and if this build isn't nerfed, obviously, you can use this to level your Falconers too, up to like level whatever. Like, this build works all the way up. Like, all of the tools that are required to make this build function are here, and this could work very well all the way up to Empowered Monoliths if you just follow Poison Umbral Blades. So if you really want to do that, that is an option. Of course, if you're a blade dancer, that's very easy, then you just respec, or if you're a marksman, it's a little bit harder, but it's definitely still worth it, because most bow builds don't have enough damage to clear early game as quickly as like a Poison Umbral Blades build does. So if you want to go faster, this is the best option. Now, Flurry is still just as good. It's just I'm expecting Flurry nerfs next patch, so that's why I'm not showing you Flurry this time around. Now for passives, 8 points into Swift Assassin first. We want as much throwing attack speed and attack speed as humanly possible. Eventually we move up, we travel. I'm just going to talk about the important nodes. 5 points into Disembowel because the bleeds get turned into poison, and early on you get more damage with puncture. Then 4 points into Sapping Strikes, because not only do we get health gain with our Umbral Blades, but we require a -3 ring before that happens, because we have a 3 mana cost on Umbral Blades, but then once we apply the ring, we go to 0, and that will apply as a 0 mana cost skill, and we'll get the health gained. This is a large majority of our health gain when we're doing monoliths. Our health sustain is not as high as Flurry, but our damage and our tankiness is much higher than Flurry, because we do not need to dual wield to do our damage. We actually just use a shield and then, of course, a weapon. And that means not only are we not dual wielding, we're also tankier because of it, right? So that helps a lot. Now, like I said, our sustain is not as good, but we are much less squishy than the Flurry version. For Blade Dancer, 5 points, of course, into Pursuit is very strong because you just get a bunch of free movement speed. 1 point travel to Flow, then 5 points into Rhythm, right, for the throwing attack speed. This makes up for the fact that you do not have throwing attack speed gear early on, which is a-okay because you have this instead, and it works just fine, and it's really nice. And of course, eventually you want to fill up a Shroud of Dusk for the HP, and then after this, at this point, if you're still wanting to play this build, I have a full Poison Umbral Blades build guide as well on the YouTube. I'll leave a link in the description as well. But yeah, that's pretty much it for the passives. And for the gearing here, the most important stuff, like I said, is movement speed. You want as much movement speed as humanly possible, especially as a rogue. You want 1 throwing attack mana cost ring so that your Umbral Blades goes to 0. And that's important for your sustain because you eventually want that. It makes the build feel way better that way. On your weapon, just bleed chance. It could be a sword, it could be a dagger, bleed chance, poison damage, damage over time, poison chance, bleed chance, like the usual. And then as much physical resistance as humanly possible. Because, of course, you want to not take that much damage, and physical resistance is god tier. If you're new to last Epoch, physical resistance while leveling will save your run. It will make you feel so much better because 99% of mobs in the campaign and most of the game will deal physical damage to you. So being able to resist that makes the build feel so much better. And that's pretty much it for gearing. That's the most important parts. There's not really anything else that's important. Obviously, throwing attack speed, damage over time, stuff like that would be insanely strong. But if you're just on a budget like I was for this build, just throwing attack speed, a good weapon, and fizz resistance and movement speed. Those are the most important parts. And then after that, then you can just follow the build guide at that point or swap over to a different build. At this point, I am ready to respec into either a marksman build or, of course, into a blade dancer build. Whatever I want, I can respec into whatever I want. A lot of people say the game starts at level whatever, like level 70 or whatever, something stupid like that. The game starts at level 39 when you get to Monoliths, because if you speed through Monoliths fast enough, you're level 70 when you're an empowered Monolith, which is very difficult sometimes, but it's definitely worth it because you speed through all the bullshit, like all the normal Monoliths, which is, stuff that you don't want to do. You want to get through this as fast as possible and get to empowered because that's where the real game begins. But the game begins when you get to level 40, because the faster you get to monoliths, the faster you push through the monoliths, and the faster you push through the monoliths, the faster you get to empowered monoliths, which is the important part, right? So that's why I like fast builds while leveling. But yeah, that's pretty much it for the video. Like I said, full VOD in the description. If you want to play Poisonous Umbral Blades after this, that link will be in the description. And if you want a different leveling guide, I'm still working on a few others, but I have Sentinel done, and Primalist is coming soon. So with all that being said, thank you all for watching. Have a one for us today, wherever you're at, and bye.